Amara lay propped up in her hospital bed, her thin frame dwarfed by layers of crisp white blankets. The rhythmic beeping of the heart monitor was the only sound in the room. She stared out the window, her big brown eyes tracing the constellations. For as long as she could remember, the stars had been her escape. While her body grew weaker with each passing day, her imagination soared among distant galaxies, weaving stories of alien worlds and extraordinary creatures. Her nurse, Clara, peeked in. "Still up, stargazer?" Amara managed a smile. "I can't sleep. What if tonight's the night they visit?" Clara chuckled softly and smoothed Amara's hair. "If they do, make sure to let me know. I'll call for pizza. Aliens always need to try Earth food." As Clara left, Amara's gaze shifted back to the sky. Just as she was about to close her eyes, a streak of light slashed through the darkness, brighter and faster than any shooting star she'd ever seen. It blazed a fiery trail before disappearing behind the dark silhouette of the forest that bordered the hospital grounds. The light didn't fizzle out like a meteor it seemed to land. Her heart raced. That wasn't a star. The next morning, Amara convinced her parents to take her for a walk. After much pleading and promises of rest breaks, they agreed, bundling her in a warm coat and scarf. Clara accompanied them, pushing Amara's wheelchair as they made their way to the forest trail. The air was crisp, the scent of pine filling Amara's lungs. She felt alive out here, far from the sterile smells of antiseptics and medicine. Her parents were cautious, but she could see the glow of curiosity in their eyes too. "Are we sure this is a good idea?" her mother asked nervously, glancing at the path ahead. "Mom, it's just a walk," Amara said, her voice as firm as her frail body could manage. "Besides, don't you want to see what landed?" Her father gave her mother an encouraging nod. "She's right. Let's just see what's out there." The closer they got to the crash site, the more unusual things became. The air seemed warmer, almost charged, and the ground was littered with scorched leaves and bits of strange metallic debris. Finally, they stepped into a small clearing and froze. There, in the center of a smoldering crater, was a creature unlike anything they had ever seen. About the size of a large dog, it had fur that shimmered like molten silver, rippling as if alive. Its eyes were enormous, glowing with a soft, bluish light, and its ears twitched in a way that reminded Amara of curiosity. It stood on 4 legs but had an elegance that was almost feline. Amara's mother gasped and pulled her back. "Don't go near it." But Amara couldn't look away. The creature's eyes locked with hers, and she felt an overwhelming sense of calm wash over her. It wasn't just looking at her, it was seeing her. Somehow, she knew it wasn't dangerous. Ignoring her parents' protests, she wheeled herself closer. "Hello," she whispered. The creature tilted its head, its glowing eyes softening. It stepped forward, its movements graceful yet cautious. Amara extended her hand, palm open, and the creature paused, considering her. "Amara, stop," her father called. But before anyone could stop her, the creature raised one paw and placed it gently in her hand. A faint hum filled the air, resonating deep in Amara's chest. For a moment, everything around her, the forest, her parents, the hospital, seemed to fade. She felt warmth spreading through her, a sensation so comforting it brought tears to her eyes. "Are you hurt?" she asked softly, as if the creature could understand. The alien dog blinked, and for a moment, Amara thought she saw a flash of images in her mind: stars, planets, and a vessel spiraling through the void before crashing. She gasped, pulling her hand back, but the creature remained calm. Her parents hurried forward, but before they could intervene, the creature stepped back, its luminous gaze flicking between them and Amara as though it was deciding something. "It's not dangerous," Amara said firmly, looking up at her parents. "It's just lost." Her mother hesitated, but her father stepped closer, his expression softening. "What is it?" he murmured, almost to himself. The creature let out a sound, a low, melodic hum that was neither bark nor growl. It resonated in their bones, not threatening but soothing. Amara's mother finally lowered her guard, though her worry remained etched in her face. "Whatever it is," her father said, his voice quiet, "it seems to like Amara." The creature settled onto its haunches, its glowing eyes never leaving the girl. Amara reached out again, this time with more confidence. The creature leaned into her touch, its silken fur warm beneath her fingers. And just like that, Amara felt a spark of something she hadn't felt in years: hope. Little did she know, her life and the lives of everyone around her was about to change forever. The alien dog Luma, as Amara had decided to name it, became a quiet but constant presence in her life. Her parents, though still uneasy about the creature, couldn't bring themselves to separate it from her. Luma seemed to sense Amara's fragility, staying close and always watching with its large, luminous eyes. It was protective yet gentle, never showing aggression, even when doctors or nurses approached. The strange hum Luma emitted grew familiar to everyone around her, though no one could explain its origin. It wasn't until a week after their first encounter that something extraordinary happened. It was early morning when Amara woke, feeling different. She sat up in her hospital bed, a movement that usually drained her, but today her arms and legs didn't tremble. Her chest, which always felt tight with the weight of her illness, felt lighter. Luma lay curled up at the foot of her bed, its silvery fur glowing faintly in the dim light of the room. "Amara?" Clara's voice came from the doorway. The nurse blinked in surprise when she saw Amara sitting upright. You're up?" "Yeah," Amara replied, her voice carrying more strength than usual. "I feel good." Clara rushed to her side, gently pressing a hand to her forehead. "No fever? No shortness of breath?" Amara shook her head. Clara's eyes darted to Luma. "This has to be connected to that." The improvement wasn't fleeting. Over the next few days, Amara's energy continued to return. She could walk short distances with minimal assistance, and her appetite, long diminished, surged back. Her parents were overjoyed but cautious, unsure if this was a miracle or a cruel twist of fate. At her next appointment, the doctors were stunned. Scans showed that the damage to her heart and lungs, once irreversible, was healing. Her blood work was normal for the first time since her diagnosis. The hospital buzzed with speculation. "This isn't possible," one doctor said, pacing the room. Her condition was terminal. No medication or treatment could explain this. Clara, standing nearby, muttered, "No medication, no. But maybe something else." Luma, as always, sat silently at Amara's side, watching with its unblinking, glowing eyes. The connection between Luma and Amara's recovery became undeniable one afternoon during physical therapy. Amara was attempting to walk across the room when her legs began to wobble. Before anyone could catch her, Luma darted forward and pressed its paw to her shoulder. A soft glow enveloped her, and immediately, the strength returned to her legs. The therapist froze. Did it just? Amara looked down at Luma, who was staring up at her with an expression that felt almost proud. "It's helping me," she said simply. Word spread quickly through the hospital. Luma was no longer just a strange creature, it was a phenomenon. Researchers and scientists wanted to study it, to understand how it could heal. But Luma seemed uninterested in anyone except Amara. It never left her side, always humming softly when she grew tired or weak. One evening, Amara decided to test Luma's powers. Alone in her room, she held her hand out to the creature. "Luma, what are you?" she asked softly. "How do you fix me?" Luma tilted its head, and its glowing eyes seemed to flicker. It stepped closer, placing its paw in her hand. For a moment, the world around her disappeared. Images filled her mind, stars swirling in a vast galaxy, planets orbiting twin suns, and a spaceship hurtling through the void. She saw a vision of Luma itself, surrounded by other creatures like it, their glowing forms dancing in a celestial rhythm. Then came the crash, Luma's ship spiraling out of control, fire and smoke, and the Earth rising to meet it. The vision ended abruptly, leaving Amara breathless. She looked at Luma, her heart racing. You're not just an alien," she whispered. "You're here to help." Luma let out its melodic hum, its paw still resting in her hand. Amara felt warmth spreading through her, as though the creature were sharing its essence with her. That night, Amara didn't dream. Instead, she slept deeply, her body healing in ways even the doctors couldn't comprehend. The next day brought new challenges. The government had learned of Luma's existence, thanks to hospital staff who couldn't keep the secret. Agents arrived, their black suits and cold stares intimidating everyone in the hospital. They demanded access to the creature, calling it a matter of national security. Amara's parents stood firm. "You can't take it," her father said, his voice shaking with anger. "It saved our daughter's life." The lead agent didn't budge. "We're not asking. This is a highly unusual biological entity, and it needs to be studied." Amara clutched Luma protectively, her eyes blazing with a fierceness that startled even her parents. "It's not a thing," she said, her voice steady. "It's my friend." Luma stepped forward, standing between Amara and the agents. Its hum grew louder, the sound filling the room like a shield. The agents hesitated, clearly unnerved by the creature's presence. "Stand down," one of them muttered. "We need to handle this carefully." For now, Luma and Amara were safe. But Amara knew the peace wouldn't last. The world wouldn't let something as extraordinary as Luma remain free for long. She stroked Luma's fur, her mind racing. "Don't worry," she whispered. "I'll protect you, just like you protect me." But deep down, she wondered, how long could she keep her promise? The tension surrounding Luma grew with each passing day. The government agents had backed off temporarily, but the air around the hospital was thick with unease. News of Amara's miraculous recovery had leaked, and whispers of an alien being began circulating online. Luma, ever calm and watchful, seemed aware of the growing threat. Its glowing eyes lingered longer on doorways and windows, as though sensing danger before it arrived. For Amara, however, Luma's presence brought a new sense of purpose. The visions it shared fascinated her, and she spent hours each day trying to piece them together like a puzzle. The latest vision had been the most vivid yet a massive structure floating in space, surrounded by star systems she couldn't recognize. It was both terrifying and awe-inspiring. One evening, as Amara sat alone in her hospital room with Luma curled at her feet, another vision came to her. She wasn't asleep, yet the world around her faded as her mind was pulled elsewhere. She saw herself standing on a barren, rocky plain beneath a violet sky. Luma was beside her, and before them stood a group of creatures like Luma, each one slightly different in size and glow. They hummed in unison, their combined sound resonating in her chest like a heartbeat. One stepped forward and spoke not in words, but in feelings and impressions. Amara understood it clearly. "You are chosen," the being seemed to say. "You carry the mark. Your illness was a symptom of your uniqueness, and we have come to awaken what lies within you." Amara gasped as more images flooded her mind. She saw herself walking among the glowing beings, her body whole and strong. She saw her hands radiating light, her touch bringing life to a dying plant, and her voice calming a storm. The vision shifted. She saw Earth from above, surrounded by swirling energy, and then she saw destruction, war, suffering, and loss. Finally, the vision ended with Luma's face, its glowing eyes filled with urgency. Amara jolted back to reality, her chest heaving. Luma was staring at her, its gaze steady and knowing. "You came for me," she whispered. "You knew about me before you even got here." Luma tilted its head, and Amara felt the hum in the air intensify. She understood now that her connection to Luma was more than chance. It was destiny. The next morning, Amara shared her experience with Clara, who had become one of her closest confidants. Clara listened intently, her eyes widening as Amara described the visions. "I don't think this is just about healing you," Clara said cautiously. It sounds like that you're part of something much bigger. Amara nodded. But I don't understand what they mean by awakening. What's inside me that they're trying to bring out? Before Clara could respond, Amara's parents entered the room, their faces pale with worry. Her father held up a newspaper, the headline bold and damning, "Alien life form discovered at local hospital, miracle or threat." "They're coming back for Luma," her mother said, her voice shaking. "We need to get it out of here." That night, Amara and her parents devised a plan. The hospital was too public, too vulnerable. They decided to take Luma back to the forest where they had first found it. Perhaps the creature could find a way to signal its kind, to call for help before it was captured. Luma, as though understanding the gravity of the situation, stayed close to Amara as they packed what little they needed. It hummed softly, its warmth radiating reassurance. When they reached the forest, the air felt alive with energy. Amara felt stronger than ever, as though the forest itself was feeding her newfound vitality. They returned to the clearing where Luma's ship had crashed. Though the vessel was nothing more than twisted, charred metal now, Luma seemed to recognize the place. It stood still, its eyes scanning the surroundings. Suddenly, Amara felt a familiar pull in her mind. Another vision overtook her, but this time, it wasn't just images, it was knowledge. She saw Luma's homeworld, a place of harmony and advanced technology. The beings there were not warriors or conquerors, they were guardians, sent across the galaxy to help species on the brink of destruction. Earth was one such place. Luma's mission was to find those who carried the mark, individuals like Amara who were genetically unique, capable of channeling the energy Luma's kind possessed. Together, they could heal the damage humanity had done to its world. But Luma's crash had been no accident. Something or someone had shot it down, knowing its purpose. Amara saw flashes of shadowy figures, their faces obscured, and felt a wave of dread. As the vision faded, Amara gasped, clutching her chest. "You were hunted," she whispered. "And now they're coming for me too." Luma let out a soft hum, and Amara understood. She had to decide, would she run and hide, or would she stand and face the danger ahead? The wind shifted, and Luma's glowing eyes suddenly flicked toward the tree-line. Amara's father stepped protectively in front of her. "We're not alone," he said, his voice low. A beam of light swept through the trees, accompanied by the crunch of boots on fallen leaves. The agents had found them. "Amara," her mother whispered urgently, "you have to go." "But what about Luma?" Amara cried. Before anyone could answer, Luma stepped forward, standing between Amara and the advancing agents. Its glow intensified, and the hum grew louder, shaking the air like a low thunder. The agents hesitated, their weapons drawn but their confidence faltering. Luma turned to Amara, its glowing eyes locking with hers. She understood what it wanted. "No," she cried. "I won't leave you." But Luma's resolve was clear. It let out one final, powerful hum, and the clearing was filled with light. Amara shielded her eyes, her heart pounding. When the light faded, Luma was gone. The agents were on the ground, disoriented but unharmed. Amara felt tears streaming down her face, but deep in her chest, she felt something else, a spark of energy, as if a part of Luma had stayed with her. The agents scrambled to their feet, but Amara's parents were already pulling her away. "We have to go," her father urged. As they fled deeper into the forest, Amara clutched her chest, feeling the warmth of Luma's essence within her. It wasn't just protecting her, it had given her a piece of itself, a gift she didn't yet fully understand. But she would. The escape through the forest was frantic. Amara's parents, holding her hands tightly, led her deeper into the woods, the flicker of flashlights and shouts of the agents growing fainter behind them. The warmth of Luma's essence, still pulsing faintly in Amara's chest, was the only thing that steadied her racing heart. Luma was gone, or at least, its physical form was. But Amara could feel it, like a quiet presence at the edge of her mind. It wasn't just a memory, it was something more. By the time they reached the densest part of the forest, the night was eerily silent. Amara's father dropped to his knees, catching his breath. Her mother paced nervously, glancing back in the direction they'd come. "Do you think we lost them?" her mother whispered. "For now," her father replied. "But they'll keep looking." Amara stood a few paces away, her gaze fixed on the stars peeking through the canopy of trees. She wasn't afraid anymore. For the first time in years, she felt stronger than she'd ever imagined. But with that strength came a heavy weight. Luma's gift wasn't just for her. It was meant for something greater. "We can't run forever," Amara said softly, breaking the silence. Her voice, calm and resolute, startled her parents. Her mother turned to her, tears brimming in her eyes. "Amara, what are you saying? We're not giving you up to those people." "It's not about them," Amara said. She looked down at her hands, flexing her fingers. Faint, shimmering light danced across her skin, as if the energy within her was trying to escape. "Luma didn't leave me. It became part of me. And I think it's trying to show me what I'm meant to do." Her parents exchanged a worried glance. "What do you mean?" her father asked cautiously. Before Amara could answer, a low hum filled the air. It wasn't coming from her, it was above them. The family looked up, and their breath caught in their throats. A massive shape loomed in the sky, obscuring the stars. It was silent, save for the soft vibration that seemed to resonate in the ground beneath their feet. Lights flickered along its underside, and as it descended slowly into the clearing, the family instinctively backed away. "It's one of them," Amara whispered. "One of Luma's kind." A doorway opened in the side of the vessel, and a glowing figure emerged. It was similar to Luma in form, but taller, more regal. Its silvery fur seemed to shimmer like liquid starlight, and its eyes burned with an intense light. The figure stepped forward, its movements graceful and deliberate. Amara felt a wave of emotions: curiosity, warmth, and a deep sense of recognition. The being raised a paw, and images flooded her mind. She saw Luma again, along with others like it, journeying across galaxies, healing and guiding. She saw Earth, its potential for beauty and destruction, and she saw herself, standing at the center of it all. "You carry the essence now," the being's voice echoed in her thoughts. It was not a language, but a direct transmission of meaning. "Luma chose you." Amara swallowed hard, the weight of the words settling over her. "Why me? I'm just a kid." "You are more than that," the being replied. "You are the bridge. Humanity stands at a crossroads. With the gift Luma gave you, you can heal not just yourself but others. You can inspire change. But you must choose." The being stepped closer, and Amara's parents instinctively moved to shield her. The being stopped, tilting its head as if understanding their fear. It projected a vision to them, a future where Amara's gift saved countless lives, where her light spread across the world, mending broken ecosystems, bringing people together, and ushering in a new era of harmony. Her parents looked at Amara, their eyes wide with a mix of fear and awe. "You're saying she's supposed to leave us?" her mother asked, her voice trembling. "No," Amara said, stepping forward. "I don't have to leave. But I can't hide either. Luma didn't just heal me. It gave me something I have to share." Her father knelt in front of her, his hands on her shoulders. "Amara, are you sure about this? You're just a child." "I might be a child," she said, her voice steady, "but I'm not afraid anymore. Luma believed in me, and I have to believe in myself." Her parents exchanged a tearful glance before nodding. "We trust you," her father said, his voice breaking. The glowing being extended its paw, and Amara placed her hand on it. Light enveloped her, lifting her slightly off the ground. Her parents gasped, but Amara wasn't scared. She felt warmth, love, and understanding pouring into her. When the light faded, she stood taller, her body glowing faintly. She turned to her parents, her eyes shimmering like Luma's once had. I'll come back, she said softly. But I have to do this. The being nodded and stepped back into the vessel. A beam of light enveloped Amara, and for a moment her parents thought she might vanish. But she stayed, her feet firmly planted on the ground. It's up to you now, the being said, its voice resonating in her mind. The gift is yours. Use it wisely. With that, the vessel rose into the sky, disappearing into the stars as silently as it had come. Amara stood in the clearing, the hum of Luma's energy still resonating within her. She turned to her parents, who rushed forward to embrace her. I'm not going anywhere, she said, her voice filled with determination. But I am going to change the world. In the days that followed, Amara's powers grew. She began healing others, drawing attention and hope. The agents returned, but they couldn't touch her. The world had already begun to rally around the girl with the glowing hands and the gift of life. Amara knew the road ahead would be hard, but she also knew she wasn't alone. Luma's presence was always with her, guiding her, reminding her that even in the darkest moments, there was light to be found. And so, the girl who had once been too frail to walk now stood as a beacon of hope, her journey just beginning.